Hello, everyone. I'm Jer and welcome to your Daily Detroit for Monday, August 5th, 2024. I hope you all are doing well today. We're coming to you from our studio at Techtown. And Fletcher Sharp, I know you were busy playing footy over the weekend. How was Copa?
It was not the best for me. For the team overall, we did well. Old Redford, we had not won a game all season. We had one tie, wasn't great. Got to Copa, lost our first game, a little bit sad. Found out there's a loser's bracket, got all the way to the final of the loser's bracket, which gives us 3 wins on the year, which is great. For the first time in 4 years, we have a new champion, an old team, but new champion. Chinatown defeated Mulet Park in the final 1-0. St. Anne's did not win, which is great because no one wants to see someone win a title 4 times in a row. But overall, I love the DCFL. I love Copa because it's a chance to see 34 different neighborhoods in the city of Detroit all come together and battle it out at Fort Wayne. And at the end of the day, it's all about fun and just having a nice little time in the sun and high fives and people doing keg stands as a halftime show.
I still am very proud of our Daily Detroit logo on the back of that jersey, of which I have a copy of.
Oh, yeah. People have seen it and been like, hey, are you? And it's like, yes. Yeah, I am. But also not right now. We're down 2-1. Like, give me a second. We'll talk after the game's over. Just, I got to focus on trying to put a ball in the net.
This is a hard season for you.
Yeah, but, pressure makes diamonds. And next year, maybe it's our chance to have that trophy.
Well, today we're going to be talking about a couple of big topics. Honestly, a couple of endings. People may not realize if they've not been around a minute, but Moosejaw got their start right here in Michigan. They had their headquarters in Madison Heights. We're going to talk about the end of them officially. And then we're also going to talk about the end of NewsNet, whose tagline was news as it used to be. Turns out NewsNet could never find an audience, and the plug was pulled by the billionaire owner of 5 Hour Energy on Friday, with 80 people losing their jobs. But first, let's get started this Monday, my friend, with a round of unpopular opinions. How's that feel?
That's fine by me. That's how I start every day.
So dailydetroit@gmail.com for your thoughts on our unpopular opinions, or if you have one. In fact, if you leave like a voice note or a little recording and email it to us, dailydetroit@gmail.com, we might just play an unpopular opinion. So I was at the Sarah Sherman show last night at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. She is on SNL. Very creative comedian, very talented, super, super talented person. And she had done some research coming into town. She's New York based, about the American versus Lafayette Coney Island rivalry. And here's the thing. I've heard this from Sarah. I heard this from a friend of the show, Paul Elia. I've heard this from a number of people. A lot of people have very mixed feelings about the Coney as a concept, not just American versus Lafayette, but the Coney dog. And here's the thing. Once in a while, I'm good with it. But I'll be honest with you, a big difference between my 20s and my 40s and another birthday in my 40s is tomorrow. I just can't have as many Coney dogs, man. Like, it does not have the same appeal. It tears me up. I will go if other people want to go. I will not ruin the vibe, but I no longer wake up and go, yeah, I'd like a Coney. And look, the raw onion on the top to me doesn't really count as a vegetable. Like, I wish we could have a local delicacy food that had visible vegetables. Like, it was part of it. And that is my unpopular opinion, that I think I've moved on from, I think my body has moved on from the Coney. I just can't.
I think that's just a maturation thing. Like, not to put my business out there, but I have been on a health journey through a lot of this summer. And on April 23rd, I weighed a certain weight, and as of today, I weigh about 21 pounds lighter. And a lot of that had to do with just like, maybe these little things by me that I want to eat, and maybe I don't eat as much, maybe I don't eat as all. One of those things I cut out was our local Coney, where it's like, maybe I'll stop in here, maybe I'll get.
So not American or Lafayette, but something in your neighborhood.
Yeah, my local Coney's better than both of those. I love Lafayette. I've had many great things there. American, the exact opposite. But like my
By the way, the overall feeling of that entire room of Mark Ridley's was that everybody was Team Lafayette. Nobody was Team American.
Yeah, I have some stories for American. But anyways, I realized cutting out part of Coney Island like made me feel a bit less sluggish, made me feel, a bit whatever. My stomach's not being torn to shreds every so often. And like, while I used to love it, like, I'm not saying I'm old, but like in my younger days, I could maybe eat 3, 4, 5. Now it's like I eat one and I'm like, I think I need to get a digestive enzyme because I don't think I'm going to be able to process this properly. And I'm going to have a hard time tomorrow morning when I wake up and go and sit on the toilet. So I understand that. I think that's more of a maturation thing where a lot of younger people would be like, what? And then as they get like towards late 30s, 40s, 50s, they're like, yeah, I understand exactly why you're backing off, and I applaud you. My unpopular opinion, I did not know was unpopular until last night, actually. I was out with a few friends. We were outside of we were by Nemo's, and a pedal pub rolled by, and they started honking and waving at us, and people in the bar were like, woo, and I was like, man, get away from me. And they were like, what? And I was like, I don't like those. I don't like those at all because they take up parts of the street, obviously, because they're being biked. They can't go very fast, so it's just something going 10 miles per hour in front of you while you got some angry guy trying to get to his job behind you, and then you can't get out of the way to go to the next lane because you're going so slow and cars are going by you, and they're just waving at you drunk, just yelling. And it's like, man, just please move. Please don't take up another lane. I just need to get down here to the grocery store and then get back home. I don't need you in my way. And I found out that people are like, I love these things. And I was like, how? And there's a scene in the show Detroiters, which I know a lot of this show holds dear to, where Sam and Tim are on it. And Sam goes like, who wants to slug these bad boys beers and like bike around the city? Like who said that was fun? And I think like I have friends that are super big into fitness. I have a friend who's competing in the triathlon soon. And they're like, yeah, this is great and all. And like, we love having a beer after, but like no one wants to hop on the bike and then just throw this down as you matriculate your way through downtown Detroit. Like that's crazy to me. Like who does that? And I say that knowing full well that like I've seen people do that multiple times in the past week. So yeah, for me, pedal pubs, 4 thumbs down.
Really? Have you ever been on one yourself?
Yes, I did not enjoy it.
Really? Okay, so you've done both.
Yes.
And you have the same opinion. I can respect that.
I've got on it with when I was an intern at Blue Cross Blue Shield. We got in like a little team pedal pub, and I'm like, I'll give it a shot, whatever. It seems kind of dumb, but I don't want to say it's dumb till I do it. 5 minutes in, I'm like, this is dumb. Half people here aren't even pedaling. Like they're just there. I'm like, so how are we moving? Then I found out there's a motor, and the guy in the middle controls almost all of it. And I'm like, so we're just here to kick our legs like toddlers holding alcohol? No, let me off. I'll walk home. It's okay. I'm good.
Oh, interesting. So I feel a little differently. I think that there should be like pedal pub paths. I think they could be a part of things. I'll never forget when we had our studio at the Detroit Shipping Company, RIP, the studio over there. We were doing a very serious interview with a sister of the faith. And one of the reasons we knew it was going to be a difficult fit for us kind of long term was Pedal Pub pulled up in the middle of this very serious interview with a sister of the faith. And they were screaming about how, like, of course, the woo, and then also how much they love a certain phallic part on a man in the middle of the interview. And of course, we had to like recut it and everything. And it was so loud, it like went through the walls. And I was like, that's not going to work for us. That was not a winner. I mean, look, I don't like to yuck people's yum. If they're really into it, or if there's like to me, like it's in the middle of Woodward that it becomes an issue, or there's an issue where there's a lot of traffic. If it's dead out, I don't really care. Or if there's different paths, I don't like to yuck people's yum. But, and like for me, I don't know if I'd want to be part of the group effort. I will admit that in my 20s, there was times where I had a little cup holder, and maybe my Faygo had a little spritz of something that was not Faygo in it, along with my Faygo, not a heavy amount.
That's different. That's different than getting.
Well, how is that different?
That's different than getting, and you're biking by yourself. It's your own thing. You're just doing this as opposed to like a group Soul Cycle, but one big unit in the middle of Woodward, or going across Jefferson, or going through parts of downtown where there's like serious traffic and just wooing at me while I'm stuck here, unable to get to this work thing I'm about to be late for because you're busy having the time of your life stuck in the middle of the intersection because no, like if they were in a different, not to put them somewhere else, but if they had their own little pedal path area where it's like you can go by the city, but like you're not obstructing, like if they could fit in a bike lane, for sure, I am all for it. You, like you said, don't want to yuck anyone's yum. If you enjoy this, that's great. Just please don't do it in the middle of the intersection in the streets where we all have to go to work and do other things, because maybe we don't have the free time, Janet, to be on a pedal pub at 2 p.m. on a Thursday because we're going from work to work. This is your free time. That's great. Do it on your free time, not in the middle of my work time, please.
I want to hear people's thoughts. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Is Fletcher wrong about pedal pubs? Am I wrong about conies? Let me know. Unpopular opinion. And if you've got your own unpopular opinion. Okay, as I teased at the top of the show, Moosejaw is closing its final 3 stores, including the last Michigan location in Birmingham. This marks the end of the outdoor retail brand founded over 30 years ago. They were acquired by Dick's Sporting Goods in early 2023, so very recently, and the brand saw most of its stores shut down soon after. Employees at the Birmingham store and locations in Salt Lake City and Bentonville confirmed the closures, with Saturday being the last day of business. Founded in 1992 and first acquired by Walmart in 2017, Moosejaw's end is a notable shift in the outdoor retail market. Now, I'll add, and I've known a number of former employees over the years, and we'll talk about this a bit, Fletcher. I remember some of the marketing people there back in the day being some of the most creative people I had ever met. I love the vibe of it. I have gotten to know some people who worked back at the Madison Heights location, and they tell me that, supposedly one of the reasons Walmart bought them was because of their great culture, and they really enjoyed, it was hard work, but they really enjoyed being there. And I just always feel like it was a missed opportunity, and I don't know all the details, but it was a missed opportunity to build a strong brand based out of Metro Detroit, as opposed to selling it off. And then, a lot of people to me said, well, that was kind of the end of Moosejaw, because there was a number of brands that Moosejaw could not carry because those brands would not work with Walmart. And then you had Dick step in, and some people were hopeful, and then they just honestly just killed the brand. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this as a department in Dick's or something, but it really looks like they bought it to kill it or something. It's a real shame that it ended this way, because I would love to see more industries be standalone flagship companies or strong as part of umbrella companies based here in Metro Detroit. And I just feel like it was such a missed opportunity. I don't know the details back then. I just know there were a lot of really talented people that got scattered to the winds.
Yeah, so it hits home for me personally because my girlfriend, Nicole, took a job at Moosejaw in late 2022, early 2023. And was like, yeah, this place is really fun. Yeah, there's some hard work happening, but everyone here is always happy. And it's not like the culty, they show up happy, oh, it's a great day. People genuinely enjoyed their job. Her bosses, their email chains were hilarious, but also getting work done. People just like to be there. And then 7 months into working there, they're like, oh, by the way, we have a big meeting this weekend. And then the following day, it's actually, we're shutting down the store at the end of the year, and everyone was blindsided, what happened. And I remember when Walmart originally bought Moosejaw, one of her friends worked there and was like, it's going to be the end for Moosejaw. Everyone thought when Walmart bought it, it'd be the end, it'd be done. And under Walmart, they still thrive to a degree, but like you said, there are some companies that would not work with them and were to let them sell their brands. So obviously that would hurt your bottom line. So to get sold again, they're like, well, we're going to Dick's. It's a company that is pretty similar, athletic attire. We do more outdoor, they do more other stuff, but it's pretty similar. So they're like, it turns out the company that was similar to us and we thought would be helping us grow is the one that's taking us apart part by part. And a lot of people just were blindsided by it. But it's really sad. You hate to see brands that have been around as long as they have and have been able to just help people. And, so many people I've seen go into Moosejaw when I was there watching people come in for Nicole when I was waiting for her to leave. So many people got their first mountain climbing equipment or got their first, something where it's they got their first experience or they learned how to do it here and now they've developed a joy for it. I watched someone go from someone who just liked to be outside to a full-on actual trail runner, competitions and just getting gear and getting whatever. And you see these people just be happy to be around. And it's a shame to have a brand like that go out, but it's even a bigger shame to have the brand go out when it's a local one, like a one that was founded within this state, has one of its major headquarters here, like you said, in Madison Heights, which is a huge place. But just, yeah, it's a real bummer because you want these places to succeed, especially when they're from the same place as you.
For sure. And I just remember the energy of those kind of places, and I would buy things from time to time. I'm not exactly the most outdoorsy kind of person.
Yeah.
But there was definitely stuff like if you needed winter gear or something like that, I kind of mourn it a little bit. If you've got insight, details, want to talk about it, dailydetroit@gmail.com, or are you somebody who just shopped there or have opinions on this? Because, yeah, I just feel like this is such a missed opportunity. There's so many times where I feel like we could really diversify our industries and have like a winner. And I get it. Capitalism is capitalism, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And I'm sure it was life-changing money for the founders. But also, like, I'd just love to see some winners, like, be here, built here, stay here, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, now to Manoj Bhargava, the billionaire founder of 5 Hour Energy, former publisher of Sports Illustrated and owner of Arena Group. Well, he has abruptly shut down the free ad-supported streaming TV networks NewsNet and Sports News Highlights. The tagline of NewsNet was news as it used to be. Now, I mention this because they were based in Cadillac, Michigan, and their secondary studio was in Farmington. So this is a Metro Detroit story. The billionaire owner actually is also in Metro Detroit.
So my tagline when you announced this was, huh? Because I had no idea any of this was happening until I found out that it was closing.
Yeah, it was a 2-year run. More than 80 employees were laid off as a result. And, you know, you always hate to see job loss. I saw one post on Threads that broke my heart. A talented person who literally had posted 4 days ago that they felt like this was the best job of their life or their career. And then the next thread, they're out of work. And that just, Bhargava cited a lack of audience interest as the primary reason for the closures. Bhargava had previously emphasized the importance of these networks in his broader media strategy. That made this pretty surprising. Okay, let's start out with our feelings on this. But before we do, I want to say that losing jobs is terrible. Go look online if you are somebody hiring journalists or in the position to do it, or even people looking like journalistic skills and looking to move careers. There's some people available out there to check out. So let's just start with honoring that about the jobs, but then let's get into the greater concept here, because media is changing a ton, and I have some strong feelings about news as it used to be as a tagline and as a business model, because I have some experience in the trenches here. But why don't we go with you, Fletcher, to start, because you are somebody who is a classically trained journalist, and you have had to see a lot of changes yourself, and maybe starting with your prism is a good place to start.
Yeah, like I got out of journalism school not too long ago, and we were taught a few things, and at least half of what I've been taught already is just already been rendered obsolete in just my career, just already in my career alone. And it's kind of crazy just to think that like all these things that people have been instilling, these are like the bare bones. Don't forget these things. Don't do this. Are just now falling to the wind as a result of just journalism, just, I guess, modernizing.
So people know, and let's talk about a couple of those things, but so people know, like, you didn't just appear at Daily Detroit. You have a background. Part of the reason why you're here is you have a background.
Yeah, I mean, I like to joke and say that, like, people just found, but no, like, I actually do have a classically trained background in journalism and in print journalism. I've had work in Hour. I've had work on MLive, mainly about soccer. I used to write for the Grosse Pointe News. I've done a lot of local stuff and just things that I learned there, like to make sure you want to be first, but you want to be correct before you're first. You want to make sure that when you go out there with something, you have had enough sources to verify it. And lo and behold, like then Twitter became a thing. And now all of a sudden people can just fire off a bunch of salacious lies. And even if it's not true, the fact that it was first now means that it's the most well-known thing about someone, and like you then have to then work double time to then erase the stain of that. So that's one thing already where it's just like, I guess we're just firing from our holsters now. We're not actually doing the information to make sure it's right. We just want to be first. So then if you have to retract, at least they're still focused on you as opposed to like what the story is. And like that's super dangerous to me. That's such a terrible way to give out media to the audience, which is everyone in the world. Because if you're just going to put out stuff that's like 30% not true, people will then know that about something and then just associate it. So whether it's true or not, like if I went online, I was like, by the way, Jer has bat wings.
I mean, do I? That'd be cool, man.
And then no one was like, all right, he just has bat wings. And then they're like, well, Jared doesn't have bat wings. So then the comment, instead of it being like Fletcher obviously didn't tell the truth, it would be like, well, did Jared have them removed? Are they invisible? Are they just, and it's like, yeah, now you've just made a branch off of this lie that now is a thing. And that's just how half of media works today. And it's super frustrating.
And we've gotten in trouble with some of the different coverage we have done of sports and whatever, listeners and people getting frustrated because we will hold something until later when other people will just roll with it, get all the attention for it. And it's like, well, where were you guys? And it's like, well, maybe that thing they talked about wasn't true.
We're,
and it turned
we're
out
verifying a source. And like half the time it turns out it wasn't true. And it's like, well, we could have really, sometimes it's been true. And it's like, we were a step behind and it stunk. I wanted to get the story out, but Jared's like, let's hold on it. Jared wanted to get a story out. And I'm like, let's just make sure we're good. And like it stings to get beaten for stuff like that. But there've been plenty of times we've been like, let's hold on. And it's like, actually what this was said did not happen at all. And it's like, yeah, good thing we held on and got our sources straight because.
But then audience yells at us for not, right. That's the problem. Right. And that is the shift that I want to talk about because news as it used to be isn't honestly what people want. Now they say it in comments and even Mr. Bargov put it together in his notes that he said that, hey, so many people commented they wanted news as it used to be. But as a publisher, what I see people do and respond to is news that they agree with and when they say they want something unbiased, and this is some hard mirror holding, when they say want something that's unbiased, what they want is unbiased towards them.
Yeah, even through like coverage of like events and teams and things of that nature, where it's like if you give straight coverage about things, sometimes people are like, well, you're negative. It's like, no, I'm saying exactly what I saw.
That all the time.
I'm saying exactly what I saw. It's not to be a homer or to be hard. It's just because I saw this thing and if I care about it, I want it to be better. So it has to be impartial criticism that goes both ways. If they do something great, they hit a great home run, amazing. If the pitcher comes out and hits 12 straight batters in a row, I'm not going to be like, oh, he had a great night tonight. No, he sucked. He sucked, and it's apparent that he sucked, and he knows that.
And teams will push back on you for this.
Teams will talk about like, wow, they're really coming after our guys. I'm like, the way he came after all those batters, like, what am I supposed to do at that point? You only just, I had to remember one time, and not to go on a tangent, I used to write for MLive, and there's a team I was covering in Michigan, and they beat the reigning champions in the NPSL, their first game, and people were kind of hype on them. I'll admit it. FC Sparta Michigan, which is now currently Michigan Stars. They were like, heck yeah, we're coming out real hard. We're going to beat whoever. They played Detroit City their next game. They lost 5-1. And from that point forward, the next 8 games, they lost on an aggregate of like 19-2. So I put that in an MLive story where I'm like, they right now are leaking goals at an aggregate of whatever. I showed up to one of their games. There was no media items. There was no whatever. The press box was like, I had to force my way into the door, and they were like, oh, hi. And then later on, the guy was like, why'd you put that thing in the letter about us in the news? And I was like, what? He's like, you talked about we give up 19 goals. I'm like, well, are you guys on a 7-game losing streak? Did you win those games? What was the score of those? Like, I'm not lying. I'm reporting a story. I tried to have a positive slant as I could, but you guys are not doing well right now.
And that happens with bigger clubs too, not just smaller clubs. And you see this huge rise in sports specifically of team-owned media. And honestly, you have some really talented writers being a part of it because at the end of the day, the club wants to control their media narrative 100%. And that's why you're seeing people who are not part of the club, like they don't get the access. They don't get that stuff. And you know, that happens on the serious side too with Devin talking about the Rensen. That episode, that whole thing went bananas locally viral. And a lot of people were really mad and talking about how Devin wasn't informed and all, but Devin is informed. Like I know Devin knows what he's talking about. I know because I did some of the reporting myself. Devin is right. Like right now, the path is part of the Rensen is going to be demolished. If that changes, we'll know about it. But that is, I know you got nostalgia. I know you don't like it. And I know you want to assault the messenger, but that's what's going to happen. And I know you may not believe it, but we run into that all the time. We had this with the, we covered the Algiers Motel. That episode did really well within the city of Detroit, and it did really well nationally, but it did not do well anywhere else because a lot of people, they just don't want to deal. They don't want to even face what happened that day. And they come in with their own beliefs about police brutality, all those other things, the kind of comments we get. Like, if you don't, the thing is our experience now is that if people don't want to hear it, they shut it off. And that's really frustrating as a media professional.
It is, especially when people say they want an unbiased and they want fair media. But when you give them literally the unbiased kind of AP style of like, it's faceless. It's just literally, I lay out the facts. You take what you want from it. It's like, oh, this is slanted one way or the other. It's like, it literally isn't. It literally is just exactly what happened, the exact order of what happened, with a few things that might be a bit more important than others. Like, at the top and maybe in the middle at the bottom, but like this is literally the bare bones of what happened, and people want it to be in a way where it's like it's consumed for me to make me feel better, or it's consumed in a way to make someone I don't like feel worse, or it's, and like I thought when coming out of J school, I assumed sports media would be like that, where it's like, for sure, like obviously if you're writing for the Lions, whatever, you want to do something positive for the Lions, negative for the Packers and the Bears and whoever. But like it's got its way into politics, and like it's so weird to see, like, politicians are people of the country, but it's so weird to see them like looked upon as if they're their own like sports team. Like people are like, oh, you said that this guy said this, and it's like, no, he literally said those exact words. I didn't editorialize anything. I just took the words, copy, paste, boom, and it's like, well, it means this or it means this. It literally just means exactly what he said. And like to see that worked into such a serious way, like politics, which like controls a lot of what happens in this country, is honestly a little terrifying. Because people are stopping consuming the media the way it's supposed to be consuming it in a way where it just makes them feel better. And like, that's a problem.
Back to the NewsNet thing really quick. There wasn't a very good job of marketing whatsoever. Like, I think, and I thought when it first launched that the product was fundamentally flawed in the modern era, but also there was no marketing. You still need to have a social presence. Like, social media is not going to make you money in this business, but you need to be available, awake, aware, in at least a couple of places, sharing your stuff out as a marketing line. Like that is important. And they didn't do any marketing. And if you don't do any marketing, it's not the same as 5 Hour Energy, where you just put it in the front of the store and say, well, if it's here, people will buy it because they see it. It's not that way. Like, you have to tell people. And for us, like, one of the greatest ways that grows our show is actually not social media, but when I go out and I put up our little postcards places where people can QR scan it, or, you know, telling people at events or whatever. And I know social media is only a part of the mix. I know from my experience, most people don't find us through social media, but like, you have to be constantly out there marketing in one way or another. And it was almost invisible. I think I only knew about it because I'm a media nerd.
And I only knew about it when Jared's like, this is a topic. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, they're shuttering. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, they opened 2 years ago. And I was like, how? Like, how are they based here as like a big media hub? And like, I have no idea except for the day that they are like cratering. Like, that's, if you figure someone who's running a company that wants to put out the news the way it's supposed to be, the way it used to be, would be like, yo, let's put something out. Like, let's put something in the newspaper. Or let's do something to let people know we're here. But like, Did
you ever hear about sports news highlights?
No, I heard about it today.
And you would be somebody who would actually be interested.
I heard about it today when they no longer exist. You got to tell people. Like, that's on you. People should be picking it up, but that's on you. You have to tell people that you exist, and then they will show up and see if they're interested. And that's why people who listen to the show, we appreciate you, because there's a show that was made. We said that we were here, and people are like, ooh, you should tune into this. And that's how you grow. And if we can figure that out, I'm sure some guy who has a bunch of zeros to his personal wealth should be able to at least hire someone to do that. And the fact that they couldn't is like, it's, again, you don't want to see companies crater. It's sad. You don't want to see people out of a job, and it stinks definitely, because it's another local company doing this, but like, they kind of did it to themselves and just not letting people know they exist and hoping that people would find them when people don't want to look for media that doesn't suit them, especially when your brand is news the way it used to be. Yeah, that's not what people want right now. So why would they come find you?
Let me know what you think. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Had you even heard of NewsNet before this story? Would love to hear what you think on all of this. All right, we are done for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes who makes this project happen. Thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit. Local media requires local support to survive. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Fletcher Sharp.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.